Baigan Choka is a delicious dip that's made by mashing roasted eggplant with aromatic herbs and veggies and seasoning. It's often served with flatbread like roti or naan. I also love it as a side dish with other foods. Now, when making choka, some of my favorite ways to flavor it include caramelized onions, bell peppers, and tomato. There's also a tomato version of this recipe that's popular throughout the Caribbean and in Indian cultures, where this recipe seems to have originated from. Now, to make the choka, most recipes that I've found online call for, most authentic recipes that I have found online call for roasting the eggplant over an open flame. I have received mixed results and feedback from making it over an open flame. I don't necessarily care for the char. The flavor kind of tends toward bitterness. So I don't necessarily care for the char that comes from roasting it over an open flame, so I traditionally roast it in the oven. In this case here, I don't want roasted onions. So I'm going to take the onion aside, and what we have left is the tomato, garlic, bell pepper, and eggplant. Now, before putting the eggplant in the oven to roast, I do pierce it with a fork. Because it's a firm veggie with a thick skin, it will cook a lot more slowly if it's not pierced. When you pierce it, it allows the heat to enter and escape. It lets steam build up on the center, so it's cooking from the inside and the outside. And that makes it cook a lot more quickly. As you can guess, the eggplant is significantly larger than the rest of the stuff, so it's going to take longer to roast. The tomatoes and garlic, about 45 minutes in a 350-degree oven will do it. The bell pepper might take a little longer, the eggplant definitely longer, because size does matter. Now, so we're going to put this stuff here in a 45-degree oven and let it go for about 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, we'll come back and take out the garlic and the tomatoes. You can see the tomatoes stuck because I neglected to spray the rock that it was going on. So we're taking out the tomato and the garlic, flip the eggplant over, and the bell pepper. Now, when you flip the eggplant over, be careful to keep those pierced ends up or on the side, because if you turn it down, all that liquid that's in the center is going to leak out. You can see that the eggplant has started to soften, but it's definitely not there yet. So we'll put it back for 30 minutes and check in 15-minute increments. Now, while the eggplant and the bell pepper are finishing up, you can peel the garlic. That you just have to crack the skin. It's easy peasy at this stage. Crack the skin and the cloves should slide right out. The wide tip of the garlic, the spots may be hard. You can clip off the hard spots because we're going to mash it. Speaking of mashing, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a blender or a food processor for this preparation because it's going to turn everything to mush, kind of like a sauce, and that's not what we're going for here. We want texture as well as flavor. So you peel all the garlic cloves, and then the tomato. The tomato is roasted to perfection, so it's pretty easy. You just have to get a grip on the skin. The skin broke on this one, as you can see, so it's easy. If it comes out with the skin whole, just use a knife and break the tip and then grab the skin like you see me doing, and it should slide right off. Clean up the onions and slice it into thin slices. If you're not comfortable cutting in your hand like what I do, then a cutting board works. That's what it's there for. Once you've sliced up the onion into thin slices, if you have a potato masher, this is the time to pull it out. I don't own one. I don't have one at hand, so I'm going to cut the tomatoes into quarters just to make it easier to handle. But if you don't have a potato masher, a fork will do just fine at this stage. So crush the tomato and the garlic cloves. The garlic cloves are hiding in there somewhere. The hot tomato juice will help to soften up the onions and release those aromatic flavors that we were talking about earlier. So just crush the tomato and the garlic cloves until all of the large chunks are gone. And then at this stage, you would want to add any additional seasonings. I'm keeping it pretty simple for this recipe. We have this raw onions and we have the roasted garlic. I'm adding salt and pepper just to enhance the flavor, and because I like a little zip, I'm adding some roasted, or not roasted, some dried pepper flakes. If you want to keep things or to make things a little spicier, one of the things that I love are roasted jalapenos added to this dish. But this is where you let those taste buds guide you and add whatever flavoring you like or you want to. One of the things I love to add is a tablespoon or so of my all-purpose seasoning blend. It's a wet marinade, but it's all of the staple things that we put in, or that we put in our savory dishes: scallion, thyme, garlic, ginger, all of that stuff blended together. But like I said, we're keeping it simple here this time. So you watch me pluck the seed out. Just hold the stem and the seed packet should fall right out of the bell pepper, and then you mince it up and add it. I love adding roasted bell pepper to this or any dish really, because it imparts a very pleasant sweetness. All bell peppers give a little different flavor. So for this particular one, I like the red bell peppers, not just for the color, but for the flavor. As you can see, we've cut open the eggplant. See all that juice? That's why you needed to keep those fork pricks facing up or sideways, because you don't want to lose all this goodness. Now, if you want to add oil, at this stage you would put in a tablespoon or two. I like coconut or olive oil. The oil, I think, is optional, but a tablespoon or two, I like to keep it close to the source as possible. So some coconut or olive oil, minimally processed, no additives, is my way to go. I'm using a knife to run through the eggplant. It's pretty soft, as you can see, but just to make sure that no chunks remain, I'm just running the knife through it, some rough cuts, and the fork has switched to a whisk because the eggplant is pretty hefty, so want to make sure that we get in there and mash it out properly. Again, I wouldn't recommend a blender or a food processor for this, but I mean, let your individual taste or desire guide you. You would end up with something like a hummus if you pulsed it in the food processor. It's gonna, and with all that liquid, all those natural juices, it's bound to separate. It's not gonna be pretty like a salsa. So anyhow, I digress. Just get the whisk in there a few good turns and mash until the chunks disappear. But you don't want large clumps of eggplant. Anyhow, like I said, flatbread roti, even some crackers, some hefty crackers, pita would work well with this dish, some toasted pita. Bagel chips probably. The possibilities are endless. I love it as a side dish with a plate of meat, like flavorful meat, like this barbecue chicken drumstick and avocado, fried plantain, and rice. That's what you see here, but let those taste buds guide you. Bon appetit.